But the Flexner report was just such a game changer, even more so in my thinking, because then I understood where the control of the education pushes everything else. And so that funnels into the human world and the veterinary world. And so natural medicine was quickly viewed as not the standard, not good enough, not scientifically backed. Like it was not considered credible anymore because there was no money to be made.
Welcome to another episode of the Crunchy Carnivore Podcast. I'm Dr. Jessica Levy. I'm a holistic veterinarian. I've been a veterinarian for 28 years and practicing only holistic medicine for the past 15 years. And this is my co-host, Melissa. She is a holistic breeder of dogs. And we are bringing to you information about natural health care for dogs that really makes a difference. Today we're going to be talking about cracks in the foundation of the dog world, and these are things that don't get discussed or don't get explored, but it's helpful to have this kind of background information so that we can understand why things are the way they are based on where we've been. Mm-hmm. Melissa, let's talk about how you kind of started exploring holistic health for dogs, mm-hmm. which you had already done for your kids. So mm-hmm. let's talk about that a little bit.
So I have 3 kids. My oldest was born in 2002, and we discovered that he had severe ADHD when he was about 5 or 6 years old. And it was around that time that I really started exploring ways to try and help him. And that was when my eyes were kind of opened to adverse vaccine reactions in children. And I really kind of dove into learning about that. And that was kind of what set me on the trajectory where I started to just ask questions in all different aspects of life, in how we take care of ourselves and lifestyle choices. And so, I explored that. I explored dietary things that would help him, and then, kind of expanded to my family and myself and stuff like that. So then if you fast forward, during that time, we had a family pet. Her name was Violet. She was a black lab Shar-Pei mix. We got her when she was a puppy. We actually rescued her from a really bad situation. But she was very small, and so we got her as a baby, and she was our heart and soul of our family. Everybody loved her. We had her all while my kids were growing up, and so as I was learning all these things with my family, I didn't really think about animals in that way. You compartmentalize. You just think it's different because it's animals, I guess. And then we had Violet literally on a Monday running for her Frisbee. She was 7.5 years old. And by Friday would not stand up. And then we went in, we of course brought her in because she wouldn't stand up, and they discovered a massive tumor by her liver. Okay. And they basically were, like, you can try and help this. It's pretty advanced. It'll be thousands of dollars in treatment. You might get 6 more months of life out of her. And so, this is not an uncommon scenario. We were a young family with kids. We could not afford something like that, and really to have it only by such a short amount of time. And so we tragically, in the same day that we learned the information, had her put down, which was incredibly devastating to my whole family. And in that experience, as I processed it after the grief was intense. And I had to kind of come out of the grief. But once I did, there was something in my gut that maybe because I had already learned how to question things in the human world, it translated over. That must be where that came from, because I can't even explain it. There was mm-hmm. nothing that I read or saw or anything. I just was like, I did everything we were supposed to do. I took very good care of her. I got her, I bought what I thought was really good food. Like, I didn't just go to Walmart and buy a bag of food. Like, I thought I did everything right. There's no reason this dog should have not lived to be 15. That just didn't make sense to me. And so I kind of sat in that space, and then cue here a little while later, we wanted to take a break from having dogs, but then in that time, I wanted to explore what we might get for our next dog. That was when I started my bulldog research, and that was when I found the Old English Bulldog and then the Levitt Bulldog. And in that time, figured out I wanted to breed them because there wasn't many people breeding these healthy bulldogs. And cue here, Piper comes in, who was our first Levitt Bulldog. She was 2.5. She was registered with the organization for breeding. I had talked extensively with the breeder. She said she would mentor me. It was a beautiful situation. And I brought in, which at the time, this was my dream dog. And I was already kind of like, I want to do everything as good as I can. I don't want to lose another dog the way I lost Violet. And so in the first few months of having her, I kind of still was sort of doing the same stuff and not really thinking too much about it. And all of a sudden she developed this problem on her neck. It was thick, lumpy, the hair fell out. I mean, it was this icky problem. And I was like, oh crap, I got to bring her to the vet, right? So I bring her to the vet. It was a great traditional vet just down the street from our house. And they gave me, I think, antibiotics. They might have given me steroids. They were going to clear it up. And so I did what they said. I took it home. I gave her the things. It did clear up for a little bit. And then it came back, like, not even kidding, a month later, maybe, if that long, worse. And I brought her back in, and they basically were like, we're just going to do another round of this, and we'll do a little bit stronger of this. They literally gave me the same stuff to do that did not work the time before. And I was spending hundreds of dollars for no results, basically, and making worse. And so it was at that time that I just thought to myself, I was like, this is not working. This is not working. And so I knew the verbiage of holistic. Like, I knew that word, and I thought maybe that's the way I should do this. And so then I went online, I looked for a holistic vet. I found one in the state of Minnesota, Dr. Jessica Levy, and went into her office.
I was not the only one.
Well, you were at the time.
Close to.
You were at the time, for sure. I could not find anybody else. And so I went into her office. I was an anxiety wreck, trying to help my dog, and I want to do things different, but I don't know what to do. And it was through my experience with you that you really started to calm me down, but then also give me some insight into some of these things that are just so commonly done that people don't question, that you're like, no, there's other ways to do this, and these things aren't always benign, and there's a different way of thinking about this. And so it was through kind of your knowledge and expertise and your experience that then just that added with my already kind of starting to question things in the back of my head, it was like full steam ahead at that point. And so you gave me a book on natural rearing breeding, which I didn't think existed because I wanted to do things more naturally with breeding as well. And nobody could tell me how to do it. I couldn't find anything. And you're like, there's this purple book. And I was like, oh my gosh, give it to me. So I had that book, and then I watched the documentary Pet Fooled, which blew my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, raw diet. I'm never feeding kibble again. And so that was kind of what just started me on the trajectory. And I just had this insatiable need for answers and questioning everything. And so I just kept learning and researching. And through your help, to finish the Piper story, within a matter of a few months, we got it to clear up, and it never came back. And I think, so there was just a lot of things culminating together that brought me to the place of knowing this is it. Like, this is where I'm landing. This is where the solutions are. This gets to the root of things to heal them. This is not Band-Aids. This is not going to cause harm. All those things just kind of snowballed for me. So in and through that, you and I develop a relationship. She helps me with every litter. I'm doing things naturally. She's an ally in my corner. We can work together with these puppies. We become friends. We come up with this idea for Wellspring and putting out this information. Years into this. I am years into this, sold. I'm doing all the things, I've seen the results, and we're sitting here planning wellspring, and you throw out a term to me as if I'm just supposed to know what it is. And it was the Flexner report. Well, you know the Flexner report, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what do you mean the Flexner report? And this blew my mind as well. This is a foundational piece of information to understand why conventional medicine is the mainstream, why it is the go-to, and why it is frowned upon to stray from it at all. The Flexner report, it happened back in 1910. Up until 1910, there was a variety of different medical schools, both for humans and for animals. Some were conventional, some were natural, a lot were natural. And at this point in time, Rockefeller and Carnegie come on the scene and figure out that you can make petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. And there's money to be made. And we want to push and make as much money as we possibly can. That's their MO. That's Rockefeller, Carnegie, that's what they want to do. Well, in this move towards trying to make this the go-to, they sent a man out with the last name of Flexner to tour the country. And by 1910, Flexner had written a report reporting back to Rockefeller and Carnegie all of the schools that did teach conventional practice, pharmaceuticals being used, surgery being used, and also the schools that did not. And so any natural medicine school that did not adhere to these principles and this idea were defunded. And so as you can imagine, in a relatively short order, these schools that do natural medicine, homeopathy, herbology, is that the right way to say that? Thank you. Were dropping like flies. They were gone. And then basically within a matter of a decade, I believe, homeopathy schools were not a thing here. You could not find them. They were extinct until a little bit later on when they picked back up in England. Was England, and then kind of into India. But the Flexner report was just such a game changer, even more so in my thinking, because then I understood where the control of the education pushes everything else. And so that funnels into the human world and the veterinary world. And so natural medicine was quickly viewed as not the standard, not good enough, not scientifically backed. Like it was not considered credible anymore because there was no money to be made. And so that's why it is now looked at upon as not actually scientific or a credible system of medicine to use homeopathy, because it did not fall in line with the Flexner report, and they were defunded and did not really come back until the 70s. Into the US. Yeah. So, you know, the Flexner report is a huge piece of information that I think more people should know about, because it starts to make things make a lot more sense as to why there is only one way that is considered okay and what should be used. So my question then to you, Dr. Levy, clearly you were a huge part of helping me realize that there was things that I could research and other ways to do things and options. And a huge part of that, especially because I was going into breeding and I had to talk about immunizations and things like that, you really opened my eyes to conventional medicine's version of immunizations and what really that can entail. And then also that there's other options, like through homeopathy, that you could immunize with that are very safe and effective and really can build immunity into these puppies and dogs without causing harm. So how did you get from that conventional world that was so driven in the pharmaceutical vaccine manufacturing world to where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, and there were a few events that happened, like you were saying, it's like these individual mind-blowing moments that force you to change course. You have to change what you're doing because your brain is thinking in a different way.
Yeah.
And so for me, there were a few of those. You know, I went through vet school just like every other veterinarian. I think at some point they handed us a list of vaccines, like one for dogs and one for cats. And they said, this is what your school recommends, this is what you should do. And that's what we knew about vaccines. And then one practice that I was working at, there was a veterinary technician who worked there, and she had the tiniest Chihuahua and the tiniest toy poodle. And she brought them in one day and vaccinated them with every vaccine we had in the fridge, and looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, I just want them to be healthy. And my brain stopped. And I thought, whoa, these two things are not the same. But I didn't know what to do about it. Then I had an occasion where I vaccinated a small elderly dog on Monday, vaccinated him against rabies, and he died on Friday. And I thought, whoa, look at what that vaccine did. I did that with a vaccine. Every other vet at the practice was like, no, he was old. He was gonna die anyway. And I remember thinking literally like, one of us is in denial, but I don't know who. And then it wasn't, you know, and I was kind of hesitant about vaccines after that. Like I started to pay more attention. And I saw that the kennel cough vaccine did not prevent kennel cough. It did not actually do anything except give some dogs kennel cough. And then it wasn't until the mid-2000s when I had my own practice, we did vaccinate in that practice. And every time I ordered vaccines, this little piece of paper would come with the vaccines, and I would throw it out. And that was the vaccine insert. So just like if you go to a gas station and buy ibuprofen, there's a little piece of paper in there that tells you who should take it, who should not take it, the precautions, blah, blah, blah. So that used to come with vaccines, although it doesn't anymore. And one day I thought, what is this annoying little piece of paper that comes every time I order vaccines? And I sat down and I read through it, and it blew my mind. So throughout the vaccine insert, it says things like, for the vaccination of healthy animals, for use in healthy animals, for the immunization of healthy animals. And I thought, oh, I get it. This is the vaccine manufacturer divesting themselves of liability. If I vaccinate an animal and something bad happens, they can say, well, we told you not to. I mean, it wasn't healthy. You did it anyway. And then at the end, there was a list of precautions, and the precautions were, 1, only healthy animals should be vaccinated. No. Well, that's the purpose of the physical exam. Like when you go to the vet for vaccines and they do the physical exam and you're thinking, why am I paying for this? I'm just here for the vaccines. The physical exam is supposed to determine the animal's fitness to be vaccinated. I definitely read medical records where they'll talk about, you know, they'll list the physical exam findings, and it could be things like a heart murmur, a skin eruption, itching, ear mites, whatever. And then at the end they'll say that their assessment is healthy for vaccines. So the standards are not great. Like basically, if you can stand up, eat, and your heart is beating, according to conventional medicine, you are healthy enough to be vaccinated. Wow. But if the vaccine manufacturer is telling me only healthy animals should be vaccinated, right? Maybe I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I figure vaccine manufacturers, drug manufacturers, whoever, everybody who manufactures anything, like they would not tell us stuff if they didn't have to. So maybe when they are telling us these things, we should pay attention. So then I really started to look at my patients. I was like, well, are you healthy enough to be vaccinated? The second precaution was that any animal that is stressed, malnutrition, or harboring any other disease or illness might not respond well to vaccines. And I was like, oh, I mean, every cat at the vet is stressed. I think the day before when you formed the thought bubble, oh, I got to get the cat carrier out of the garage. Oh, they're stressed.
They're freaking out.
Right there,
Yeah.
You already did it. You broke the mold. And of course animals are stressed at the vet. So we already know they're stressed. What about malnutrition? What do I do when the owner comes in and says, I'm feeding my dog kibbles and bits? Or some other processed pet food? Well, that animal is probably malnutritioned. And then one of the other things it says is if the animal is harboring parasites. Well, how many times is your puppy being given a shot while the poop sample is running in the treatment area? After the vaccines are given, then the technician comes back in and says, oh, by the way, your puppy has roundworms. And so here's the dewormer that we're going to set up. But the vaccine manufacturer said not to. And then if they're harboring any illness, what if they picked up the puppy on Saturday, the breeder told them it needs a shot. Now they're in my office on Monday. How do they know if the puppy's harboring an illness? They've had it for 2 minutes. So I've changed a lot of things about the way I was running my practice. So one of the things I did was I stopped vaccinating 8-week-old puppies that the owners had just picked up. I would see them at 8 weeks, and I would do my physical exam, and I would talk about food, and I would talk about supplements. At some point, I made my puppy appointments really expensive because they included food and supplements. And I got tired of arguing with people. And then I would have them come back 2 weeks later, and that's when we would start vaccinating. And it was effective. Like, I had a much healthier, I was building a healthier patient population, but I was still bothered by the fact that vaccines also cause side effects. And I just learned from experience, if a lump develops at the site of vaccination, even if you do nothing and it goes away 2 weeks later, that's a little warning. That's a little red flag. And I learned to be very, very careful with those animals. But along the way, I have seen so much chronic disease. It's booming in small animals. We know because the statistics tell us now that 62% of our dogs are going to die of cancer, as opposed to the 50% that it was a few years ago, which is already too much. Between that, the numbers of cancers in younger and younger dogs, these turbo cancers that I'm seeing. And so vaccines can potentially play a part in any chronic illness that I see. And at some point I just had to call it quits because I couldn't in good conscience potentially cause chronic illness at the same time that was like the bulk of my practice. That was what I was treating. So those were the things that kind of woke me up and made me get out of the vaccine habit. So you're the kind of person who likes to research and study and get deep into things. Like, what do you think your best resources are?
Just in general, or like when somebody's considering?
Like either way, we all have like a bunch of different resources that we go to. Some of it is like stuff I need to know in a pinch. Some of it is stuff that I'm going to spend some time and dwell on and ingest a whole bunch of information pieces about.
What comes to mind? Dogs Naturally magazine online is a phenomenal quick resource. They have really good people that put out their content. They're always like reevaluating and keeping up with the the science and what is going on. And they are very naturally minded. And so you can get perspectives from veterinarians and it's actually really good information. I haven't been too disappointed with a lot of the things that, I don't think I've ever been disappointed or been like, oh, I found out later that was wrong. They're like, I'm not saying they're ironclad, but Dogs Naturally is a great resource. I use them a lot, or I tell people, if you're wondering about anything, just go, they have an article. Like, they're really good. For anybody who is thinking about feeding fresh food or anything like this, what's the reality or the truth about that? Watch Pet Fooled.
It's on YouTube.
It's free. I think it can be on multiple sources, but I know it is still on YouTube. Yeah. You can watch it for free. That actually used to be a requirement for anybody applying for a puppy from me, that they would watch Pet Fooled. That was part of my approval process because I needed people to understand the seriousness of it and that there's legitimacy behind concern about commercially made pet food versus feeding a fresh food diet. Pet Fooled is big.
And then we have stacks of books.
I'm like looking at all our books. I'm like, which one do I pick? Just books.
Yeah, and so the internet is edited. a lot of the good information has been removed or has been made very difficult to find. So like some websites have been hidden, and you need to know that you're looking for this specific website, because it's not going to
just
pop up as one of the options if you start to type in some of the words. And then it's censored. It's become very difficult to find information, like good, solid information about natural health, natural healing.
Don't use Wikipedia.
No, Wikipedia is edited.
Yep.
But there is a lot of information out there. So most of it is published in books. And then over time, you kind of learn what information is reliable, what information starts to sound like repetition of other nonsensical stuff you've heard before. So another eye-opener for me was reading Dissolving Illusions. So this book, honestly, like, I hate the cover. I think it's hideous.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
The cover, but it's phenomenal though.
Right. So on the back, or in one of the blurbs, it says something like that it's an exploration of various scientific articles that were published in medical journals. And this was how basically Suzanne Humphries elucidated the truth of what vaccines were about, how did the common contagious diseases disappear, like what actually happened with that. And so when I picked up this book at first, I was like, yeah, great, I get to read a whole bunch of medical articles. It's so readable, you would not believe it. It's
really
so
is
easy to read.
Yeah.
When I first opened it, I was like, okay, gird your loins.
Well, and it's not light.
Right.
She's thick.
But you don't need a dictionary to read it. It really is so well done, and it kind of just walks you through the history of these infectious diseases, the history of vaccines, and it kind of brings you to a point today where you're like, oh, so this line that we're always told, right? Vaccines are always safe, effective, and necessary. Vaccines are one of the greatest inventions of mankind and have saved more lives than any other human intervention. It's not true. But she walks you through it in a nice, gentle way and just brings you to that realization for yourself without kind of blaring it in your face. We've been fed a line.
And I cannot not talk about this book. I have to talk about this book. So this is actually, this was the breeding book that I was able to use thanks to Dr. Levy. I could find nothing on natural rearing when it came to breeding and raising healthy moms, healthy puppies. This was written by Dr. Jeannie Thomason, who unfortunately since has passed away. But this book is phenomenal. It walks you through whether you're a breeder or even for puppy owners. I would say it is very enlightening to read this book, even if you're not a breeder. She walks through so much of this stuff, again, in a way that is, you can read it, you can understand it. It's not this science textbook that, you have to have a PhD to understand. And just some of the foundational principles in this book. Her legacy is being continued with a group of breeders that do this. I'm wearing one of their shirts today. I did not even plan that, but here we are.
This is not available on Amazon.
No, this is getting harder and harder to find. I will link, so Paula Vandervoort is now, was an apprentice under Dr. Jeannie along with Crystal Beers. They have kind of had to rebrand her organization or association of breeders that are doing things this way, because when she passed away, there was some legal issues and things like that. And so they really wanted to make sure that her legacy did not die. So they had to rebrand it. But there is a community of breeders that adhere to Dr. Jeannie's teachings. Both Crystal and Paula were apprentices directly under Dr. Jeannie, and they're doing a phenomenal job of, really trying to collect and make a directory and put out good information for breeders that want to do things this way, or for people that want puppies or kittens that are naturally reared. So, huge shout out to them. It used to be the Natural Rearing Breeder Association. It is now the Natural Rearing Breeder Connection. And our breeder.com, I believe, is the website. I will link it below if you're interested in something like that. But these are phenomenal resources, and because of the day and age that we live in, to find true good information that's not being wiped clean or censored or changed, you're going to have to go back to hard copy things like this. And unfortunately, I mean, things like this are getting harder to find as well sometimes. But this is another one I can't not say anything about. This has been instrumental in my understanding. And Dr. Jeannie was phenomenal, and I'm so sad I never got to meet her. But bless Paula and Crystal for doing what they do. So yeah, those are just some of the. I mean, there's so many good resources. We'll continue to touch on them. I feel like we should do like books of the month.
We probably will.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to raw feeding, we'll definitely get all those books out and kind of talk about the differences between them.
Yeah, there's some good ones of those too.
So then the last thing that we wanted to touch on is the Western medical pressure. And so this, the issues that people run into when you take your dog to the conventional vet. What if you don't want to use the medications? What if you don't want to give the vaccine? There's a fair amount of bullying. There's a lot of pressure because in the conventional veterinary world, you're taught a certain mindset.
Yeah.
And that's where those people are coming from. And so I know there are some holistic vets who talk about, Dr. Whitecoat just wants the money from the vaccines. And I don't think so. I mean, I've worked in plenty of practices with other veterinarians, and I think they're true believers. So medical school, at least veterinary medical school, does not lead you to question what you're being taught or to think, what's a new way that I could go about this? Or you're certainly not going to think, is there a way to treat this condition without drugs? Like, that's just not going to happen. And so, the innovation might be technological. There's definitely a lot of, technological innovations out there, but thinking in a completely different way. So the way what changed my brain in that regard was attending the veterinary homeopathy course, which was a very broad course. We learned homeopathy, absolutely. We also learned all about natural feeding. We learned all about vaccines. We watched the movie A Shot in the Dark by Barbara Loe Fisher, who had a vaccine damaged child and started one of the vaccination information networks. We had a whole session about the rabies vaccine. We had a whole session about supplements while learning homeopathy, because homeopathic remedies are not going to save you from a poor diet, insufficient nutrition, vaccine damage. And so that also was a big eye-opener for me, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to study directly with Dr. Pitcairn and to have had that as kind of my basis. Like, that was my first step into holistic medicine, was the homeopathy course, which was great because it was so broad. And Dr. Pitcairn's a veterinarian with a PhD in immunology, and he brings the goods. So that's part of it. And I think, like, you can speak too to the frustrations of dealing with conventional vets or vets who say they are holistic but might not turn out to be. So one of the things that we're hoping to do is empower people to, what is the nice word for it? Be more assertive.
Yep, be more confident, be more, I mean, we could say it have a backbone. You have to have a backbone when you're going to choose this stuff. It's just the way of it. And that backbone, that confidence comes with knowledge. And so the more you can learn and the more you can understand the whys of things, the more it's going to help you. I mean, you can, everybody has a different capacity for how they want to research, what they want to put into it. I mean, we are certainly trying to be that place to fill in the gap where people may not have the time or desire to, read every book, right? But at the same time, we also want you to be confident in the source of the knowledge. It's hard to move forward when you're just like taking somebody's word for it. Now, granted, between the two of us, we're pushing 40 years of experience, okay? But there is that element where people want to know that it's solid information. And so that's why for those people that don't want to just take our word for it, I don't blame you. There's plenty of resources for that. Another one that came up, I'll just say this super quick, when you were talking about resources, the film Vaxxed is also a very good one. It's a little melodramatic in its music and things like that. But try and trust that if you do look into that and do watch it, there is a ton of good information in there. There's data, there's graphs. They're showing you the history. They're showing you the science. And what I found super interesting about that one is that the doctor that really was bringing this concern to the forefront was really about the combination vaccine. He was not anti-vax.
Right.
He was anti-combo vax because of what he was seeing. And so Vaxxed is another great film. If you can get a copy of it, I had to dig.
Yeah, I think documentaries like that are always going to be posted on Rumble.
Rumble's a great one. Yeah,
So
that's
probably a
less
good place
censored.
to find it.
Yep. So I will definitely throw some things in the description that you can look up yourself as far as some of these resources that we've talked about, some of these books, and if you want to dig further into it. Otherwise, we're going to just keep talking about these things from our experience, from what we have learned, and hopefully help. And just really the empowerment is the key. Enlightening people with information and knowledge is the key to all of this. And so we hope to be kind of an ally in that, and that you feel comfortable coming no matter where you're at on your journey if you're just curious about some of this stuff. And you certainly don't have to go all the way to where we are. It's just what tends to happen is the more you learn and apply, the more this way you come is usually how it goes. So Dr. Levy, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
Well, I mean, we're certainly both in the position of having goofed with previous dogs, goofed with current dogs.
Yeah.
And so it's a constant process.
Yeah.
Very few people wake up the next day and they're like, what? I know everything about holistic medicine. Now I'm an expert.
Yeah, no.
So, and we're aware that everybody's starting from a different place, right? Some people have brand new puppies and want to do things naturally. Some people are listening to us saying, please say something about allergies because my dog's driving me crazy.
We'll talk about allergies.
Right? And some people are thinking, yes, but my dog has cancer. How is this going to help?
Right.
And eventually we will cover all of those things because we want to bring true, useful information about what works and what doesn't, and not the quick fix, because that's kind of the Band-Aid approach.
Yeah. Yep. So this was the first of two parts of the cracks in the foundation of the dog world, where we really talked more about the foundation of the medicine and the education and the approach of the truth behind the foundation of the education. And that's really what is fueling this big machine that we see today, and why it's so hard to come up against it. The next time, the second crack we're going to talk about is really can be led in with the question of why are vets so opposed to a fresh food diet, when in every other instance you would never say to a person, for example, you should feed an all-processed diet, the exact same food every day from the time they're, babies till you grow old and die.
About humans,
right? Like that's like that would be insane for a human doctor to say that to a human patient.
I think of it, if your doctor said to you, everything you eat should come out of a box or a bag.
Yeah,
you would think, okay, I'm going to be leaving.
I'm going to go. So we're going to touch on that next time. We're going to explore that question, especially when her and I beat this drum all the time. Feed fresh food, and you've got all these people like, that's dangerous. Don't do that. So it's like, where's this chaos coming from? We'll talk about that next time.
Yep.
So until next time on the Crunchy Carnivore podcast, we'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining us. Our goal is always to encourage others to seek out the holistic approach by way of education and empowerment. You can check out our online resources at wellspringhaa.com. You can follow us on our YouTube channel, Wellspring Holistic Animal Academy, and you can also find us on Instagram at wellspring_HAA. We hope that this has been helpful and that you continue with us on your journey to holistic health for your pets. As always, we're here to be unapologetically all natural.